Hey everyone, my name is Jason and welcome back to another 3ds Max tutorial series. This series will involve tutorials about 3ds Max and teaching the beginner the basics of the software, giving them better understanding and helping them grow their skill and knowledge on the program. We'll be going into more detail on specific tools and components for the next few videos, but I'll be showing you just the basics on how to get started and a quick beginner's guide on just to make your way around the program and giving you a bit of an easier assistance in helping to learn this program. This video here will be demonstrating the basics just to get started and help you move around like I've said, and just the various locations of components to make it a bit easier for you to find your way. So let's get started and get straight into it. So here is your top toolbar, which is like similar to your other software such as Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, whichever you use. Everyone has this top toolbar where it's File, Edit, and then depending on what program you're using would have a specific tool names, which will be up here. So if we'll just quickly drop down onto these menus, I'll quickly show you what is on each. So File, pretty basic, pretty similar to what they have on every other program. New, open a previous file, save as. Of course, I will have that on there. Import, we can import or link different files, which will link straight onto the 3ds Max, which works cohesively on the other programs. Export, if you want to export that file to a different program, etc. Preferences and file properties if you need to go through there. Edit, basic components, undo, redo, sort of like copy and paste, but it's called clone on 3ds Max. That does basically the same thing, but it's a bit more detailed, and you'll need probably another video tutorial which I will introduce later on how to use the clone. It's a bit different to copy and paste, but it works pretty well in that regard. Tools, this is where you could go through and select your layer explorer. This is where I find my layer. If you just want to click on that, it would open your layers just on your left hand side in a column. So whatever you add there, it will come up directly onto this layer as its own layer, just like another program would do. This would directly come up in here, and then you can either group, add into a separate layer if you want to merge things together. This is where it would be. Views, if you want to go through a different viewport. Create, just like on your right hand side where it says standard primitives, this will be here, but we're probably better off just looking onto this right hand column. Animation, rendering is pretty useful if you want to render your object or geometry that you've created. Customize, this where you can add your different components onto your top toolbar just like here, and if you want to go through the other different tools, you can look through that in your own time depending on what you're after. So just under that is a separate toolbar which you can find basically your main sort of tools that you would use regularly instead of having to go through the categories like here. So you have undo, redo, just quick commands where you can quickly access it without clicking into here. The main ones we use often would be select and move and rotate, which is just up here. The shortcuts are either W or E if you want to press on your keyboard. This is just a quick tool and a quick access point where you click on that and you can adjust and move your geometry. And then here you can add or merge your specific plugins that you've added. I have merged here Map Room, which is quick access for me. And here is toggle your layer explorer, so this will come up. You can either remove that or bring it up just on your left hand side here for easier access. So we'll keep that up for this. And here is your render setup as well, and then material editor here, which looks like this when it does come up. This is pretty complex, so there'll be another video on how to use that, but that's where you'd find it. Alright, so once we've finished up with the layer explorer and giving you a quick detailed look into the different toolbars, I just wanted to show you the different facings and viewports that you have on your front screen here. So again, like you can see in the top bar here, you have top, front, left, and perspective view. If you wanted to change that and customize it, you could either right click on that view. This will give you a drop down on what you could use for each window if you want to customize it personally. I just leave it all the same. For your specific windows, which I'll have perspective here, you can either click on default shading, which gives you different customization tools on how you want to look at your design, if you want to have it in a different perspective or filter, if you might say. This would be a great way to look through that in different varieties. Edge facing is great to show exact edges on your design and your geometry, and standard here is if you want to adjust the quality, high quality performance, etc. That's how you can go through there. If you want to click on a specific viewport and extend that view, so if I'm working on perspective, you can click on this bottom right icon here, which maximizes your viewport. If you just want to click on that, or that is Alt W. So if you want to exit that, again, click on maximize window, that will drop it down, or again Alt W which will increase it. So here on the right hand side, this is where you create your geometry. This is where you have the flexibility in creating whatever you wanted in your own design depending on your own work and field. So here on the right hand side we have standard primitives. This is where you create your basic 3D geometry. You have your box, your cone, sphere, etc. Depending on what you want to use, it's personal to you. You create whatever you like. Here is a drop down menu. We can look through the various components on each of the 3ds Max tools. Again, you can go through, have a look, play around with whatever you'd like. I just stay on standard primitives, keeping it basic and simple. Here is the shapes, which is all your splines here. You can, again, another drop down menu here where you can look through. You can have a more detailed tutorial on each component later on. Before this, we're just going to use splines and create a basic rectangle. Once you've created your shape and your geometry, you then have this, which is your modifier tool. This is where you can add various components and tools to use and customize geometry if you want to add certain things and to create it more drastically or to your own touch, depending on what you want to use. It's all giving you so much freedom on this program. So we'll give you a quick rundown on how to do that. So once you go back onto create, we'll just create a basic rectangle. So I'll click on rectangle here, and this is where your working plane is. If you want to click anywhere on your grid, again, if you want to do a quick shortcut, G gets rid of the grid instantly, hides it, unhides it. I want to click on one corner and then drag to the other. That will create your basic rectangle here. If you want to adjust the length and width, you could do it here, pretty instant, and that will create that for you. If you want to do a quick basic 3D geometry of that shape, you click on that, and that will create a box. So you click on this corner, drag, unclick, and then you can lift up or down depending on what height you'd like your box to be at. That will create your height. You can click on that, or you can just drag across to your parameters here and adjust it. So if I want to go 25 meters in length and say 50 meters in width, that could change that there. You have the freedom in customizing any sort of parameter that is available for easier access there on the right hand side. Instead of if you've messed it up and you wanted to quickly alter it, this would be good later on if you needed to adjust your building height, or depending on what your project was, you wanted to adjust the size, this is where you could quickly do it. In this case, I want to delete that and I want to show you that modifier list. So if we want to click on your rectangle, which will appear in your layers component, we just want to go into the modifier list, which opens there, and we want to make ourselves a box. If you want to click on the modifier list here, it'll give you a drop down menu to all these different tools that you can use. Each tool has its own characteristic and its own use. If you wanted to go into more detail in each component, you need to look up the various tools and examples online. But for this, we're just going to show you how to make a box. So we'll go extrude, which you can either type it in or search. Sometimes if you miss the letter, it won't come up. But let's go down to E, which is here, extrude. And there you go. It comes up with your shape. Here you go, you type in the amount. So let's go 50 high, and that has created a box. But to make your way around 3ds Max, I found quite difficult to learning at the start, as I was used to some other programs. You just want to click on Alt and use your scroll wheel to move exactly around your object. It's easy to click on your object that you're using and then move around, as that is the specific element that it's focusing on. That is the easiest way to move around. Again, clicking on the mouse will help you drag and move around the site. Don't need to touch anything else like Shift. Using Alt and the scroll wheel, that'll help you move around quite easily. And then again, we have created our simple box. Here is the segments here, which splits it up into each element and grid. To find that might not come up. So for you'll need to change it in the default shading. Right click again, and that's edge faces. That will show you the different segments on your design and your work. So I'm just going to keep it 3x3. That just gives you the grids and the segments on your actual design. Again, if you want to play with different tools and objects, you could go through there, but that is just a quick tutorial on how to use 3ds Max and the toolbars and your way to move around. And this is the end of our first video tutorial series. This video was just a basic on how to teach you how to use and get around 3ds Max a bit simpler, and finding your way around the toolbars, and also how to create objects and move around the viewports. We will go into more detail on different components throughout our video series, so if you want to keep a lookout on that, we'll giving more detailed videos throughout there. But then again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.